Okay, so you've got your backing fabric, you've got your quilt finished. The next thing to think about is the batting that you're going to use, and there's lots of options available. The most common one that we have, and specifically in South Africa it's probably the easiest to get hold of, is called Loomtex. It's 100% polyester man-made. So it is a needle punch product, it's not a woven product. And you will see that there are two main layers to it. If I try to open it up here, you have a layer of what's called scrim on the bottom, and then there are fibers on the top. So I'm not sure how well you can see. There's like a very fine, almost like a violin kind of layer that's put down first when it's manufactured, and the fibers then of the polyester are blown on top of it and then needle punched together to hold it together. So this is your cheapest option here in South Africa. It's not a bad option at all. It has quite a nice loft to it, so the thickness of it. It's not dense, but it's got puff to it. So that as a quilter will give you texture. It is also nice and warm. Just be aware that you get different types and different qualities, the same with anything. So you want to look for one that is nice and soft to your hand. You can get a more harsh, I guess, or stiffer polyester batting that is great for placemats, table runners, that kind of thing, but it's not going to be so nice on a bed because it's just going to stand there straight. It's not going to drape. You want something that's nice and soft for a bed that is going to drape. So the polyester is one option, and I've got a sample here. I'll try and take better photos because I don't know that you'll see it on here now. It gives you nice texture. So because it's got that little bit of puff to it, then you get nice texture. As a quilter, that's what I'm working towards. I'm making stitches into the top that's going to bring it to life through texture. Okay, so the polyester batting is really not a bad option at all. The second one that I have here is 100% cotton. So I like this because it's a natural fiber, and in our hot climate, I'm not that keen on sleeping under something that's plasticky. So I like the more natural fibers. 100% cotton is great. It's got a beautiful feel to it. It's got a nice drape. For me, the one thing that I'm not as keen on the 100% cotton is the loft. It's very thin. Okay, so I can put a lot of effort into my stitching and my quilting, and I'm not going to get much texture because it doesn't have the puff to it. So whilst it's a nice one, it may not be my number one choice. Again, I'll try and put you a picture of this one so that you can see the texture of it a bit better. You get an in-between that is a blend, a cotton blend. So this one is 80% cotton, 20% polyester. So you get the best of the last two, best of both worlds from the polyester and from the cotton. You get the majority natural fiber, but you get the puff from the polyester. So you can get really nice texture with the 80-20. If it was for a bed quilt, it would be my choice. Okay, so I would go with the 80-20. I don't have a stitched example, but most of my my quilts are done with that one. Another option for you is 100% wool. Now you do get a local wool, but I prefer to bring in a Hobbs 100% wool. It's pre-washed, it doesn't beard, and it has a much thicker loft to it. It's got a higher loft. So that means I get better texture. It's beautifully warm, it's beautifully soft, but it is a little bit more pricey. It quilts like butter. It is beautiful. And if you look on this sample, then you will see you get much better texture because you've got that puff. If you make flat areas, then the designs that you don't quilt so much stand out that much better, and you get beautiful, beautiful texture. What you will probably have heard is that people use 2 layers of batting. I personally don't do it for bed quilts. But I do it in wall hangings and some of my show quilts. If I really want to get that texture story going on with the puffiness and the flat, then I will use the 80-20 blend as my base layer, and then I will put a layer of the wool on top. Then as you stitch your designs, the design stands up, and as you flatten with the background patterns around those designs, you get that contrast between the flat and the puffy, and that's what gives you your contrast. It adds significantly to price, obviously, if you put 2 layers of good quality batting in. It also adds to the weight and slightly to the stiffness as well, depending on how much quilting you put in. And for me, it's only really worth it if I'm going to put in serious time on heavy background fillers. Heavy meaning dense, not heavy as in weight heavy. But the extra thread that you add does add weight. So I wouldn't put it on a bed, but I do use it in lots of my class samples and in my show quilts. You may also have heard of bamboo batting. It is not one that I have a sample of, but it's got a beautiful soft feel to it. It does drape beautifully. The softness and the snuggliness of it that you feel when you pick it up is going to be hidden within your layers. So that doesn't influence me as much. I have found it to be pretty expensive, and it is quite, what can I say, dirty. It puts a lot of lint and dust into the air, fluff into the air when you're quilting with it. But it's a renewable fiber, so if you take the eco route, you may want to investigate it. I've heard stories though that the amount of water and processing that it takes to get it to the fiber stage is not necessarily as environmentally friendly as its quick growing habits. So depending on what your standpoint is, do a little bit of research. Again, it's also quite a flat batting, a bit like the 100% cotton, so you're not going to get huge texture from it, but you will get nice warmth, and it will be a natural fiber for you. So there's lots of options in terms of batting. Again, there is no right or wrong. It is personal preference. And let's face it, it's also budget. So if you're doing a quick quilt that you want out and about and used and loved and washed, the polyester is perfect. If you've got something a little bit more special that you want to spend more time on and you want it to be around for longer, then I would go personally with one of the natural fibers. So I hope that helps you get your head around a few of the options, and if you get the opportunity, get pieces of all of them, try them, and see which you prefer.